This is AF Cast, the video game podcast. And here's your host, Malcolm Sheaver.
We all know the story of Artyom trying to discover the wonders of the Lost World and Metro Exodus. Well now, inspired by Artyom, Sam goes on a quest to find his way back home to America. This week on AFCast, we will be talking about Metro Exodus's new DLC, Sam's Story. The story starts off at the end of the Metro Exodus main story. The story is based off of the good ending of the story, and if you don't know what I mean by that, then that's probably because you haven't reached the end yet, or you don't know that there's two endings, but there is a good version of the ending, and that is evident by the beginning of the cutscene. It doesn't change anything if you got the bad ending, because I got the bad ending, and it's most likely that you will get the bad ending, but it is supposed to be based off of the good ending. At least I'm pretty sure it is, but yeah. But as Sam, you say your goodbyes and start making your way to the coast of America. You reach a city that is on the coast, and that is kind of when you start actually playing and when your story begins. So you meet a captain of a submarine that is docked in the city, but another group is in control of it, who kind of pushed the captain out and who ends up actually capturing you. And you meet the head of the group, and the person's name is Tom, who is actually an American businessman who was in Russia when the nukes dropped, essentially. And he was like an arms dealer of sorts, except for an actual legal one, not a illegal one. And he convinces you to help him out by getting the captain to get the submarine operational, because Sam wants to use it to, bring peace to the world, quote unquote, by submitting people to his group of government system thing. I don't really know. But the story is really interesting and it's fun to play. The characters are enjoyable, and the banter about you being an American among the Russians is really funny. Because for those of you who aren't familiar with the Metro series, you are in Russia in the game. And there are also plenty of side quests that you can go around and do. You do get rewarded just how you would in the base game if you go to the side quests. So like you'll receive better armor and equipment overall, and just get some good loot even. So yeah, definitely go to those side missions like you would before. So the gameplay for Sam's Story is mostly the same. You still have the same movement mechanics and gun control in the game, although they are a bit buggier in this DLC. I don't really know why, but it is. And the same thing when it comes to customization and survival between the main story and this story. So like there's workbenches that you can go to. You can do on-the-fly crafting. You have to put on a mask at times when it's dangerous levels of radioactivity. You have to repair your mask sometimes, clean your weapons, it's all the same type of stuff. The only things that are different is that you do have different weapons now that are kind of based off of some American weapons. And then you also get this new device that detects nearby loot and mines. And yes, there are mines. And it is much fun. And apparently the area is littered with mines. I don't really remember the reason why, but they do explain it, I believe. But since it was just, there's mines everywhere, and the little device can track where they are. It can also track like loot and stuff like that as well, which is nice. And you can deal with the mines fine as long as you take it slow, because you can just try to blast past it and have it blow up behind you without you taking any damage. Only problem with that is that usually if there's one mine, then you're usually in a field of them, so you might end up running out of breath right as you're standing on top of a second mine, which is not ideal. And you will die pretty quickly to them. They do a lot of damage, but you can shoot them if you can see them. And you can also disable them if you get close enough. So, like, if you remember those red plants, those, like, red glowing plants that would essentially, you could get close enough to get chemicals and stuff from it. then it's kind of the same thing with the mines that are on the ground. You can disable it to get some parts that you can use later on. And then you can also get something else to trigger the mine. Like I've had some of I don't even know what they are, like the weird radioactive rats come over them and they go flying because the mine's exploding. It's kind of funny sometimes. But there's also a new enemy in the game that you can defeat by doing it comes at the very beginning of the game, and you kind of have to fend it off, and then you have to fend it off again in another side quest. And if you do that side quest, you can have the option like near the end of the game to kill it once and for all, and it's called the Batwing, and it sucks because it has a giant swarm of bats just flying around it, and this thing is huge, and so like all the swarms of bats will come dive bombing you all the time. It will dive bomb you, and it will even be running on the ground and stuff to try and kill you. It's pretty terrifying actually. Like I don't remember what they're called, but in the main Metro series, if you went after like the teddy bear in the one bat's nest, like it's kind of that, but like 3 times the size of it, which is not fun. But there's also another new enemy type in the game, but you don't have to deal with it until really late into the game. So I'll let you find out about that on your own. So good luck with that. But it's not a boss. It's just a base thing, kind of like the scorpions or the humanimals or whatever. So an overall summary of Sam's story is that the story is very fun and entertaining, and you come to learn how much of a badass Sam is. I don't know why our team didn't have him at his side more often, because he was he was badass. So that's the best way that you can really put it. And honestly, I kind of like Sam more than our team, especially since Sam actually talks, because our team didn't, like during the story. I mean, we speculate that he is actually talking. We just can't hear him, just because of the way that people respond to Artyom. But Sam does talk, and you can hear him. And some of his things that he says are funny, and he's very aggressive towards people, and also straightforward. And then the gameplay was also really fun. And for the most part, you knew what you were doing from playing the main story, but they added enough curveballs to make the game interesting still, like when you're actually doing the gameplay and all that. And overall, I give the DLC a 8 out of 10, and the reasons that I'm subtracting a couple points is because the gameplay still wasn't all too smooth like it wasn't in the base game, and especially with it being buggier than usual, it made it worse. And then stuff like dialogue would also still stack on top of each other, where people would answer a question before another person even finishes asking that question, and it's really weird. And that happens more in the DLC, I feel like. Besides all of that, the DLC, Sam's story was amazing. So yeah, game on.
Find AFcast on Instagram and Twitter, @AFCommunity, for any updates on future podcast episodes. If you want to join the community Discord, find the link in the description or on the website, afcommunity.com. Special thanks to DJ Augie for making the music for this podcast.